Hello everyone, welcome back to Fight Tonight channel. Friends, before starting to watch this video, I would like to ask you to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for supporting me, guys. Gervonta Davis vs Pitbull Cruz rematch gained momentum as a pundit claim there is a date in mind. Gervonta Tank Davis vs Isaac Pitbull Cruz rematch is in the works according to pundits who claim that there is already a date in mind as promoters have begun talks to have both gladiators climb up to the ring later this year. Davis defeated Cruz by unanimous decision back in 2021. Although it was an excellent fight, many were surprised by the great performance of the Pitbull Cruz, who gave a great fight and took Gervonta to the limit. After the fight, Pitbull screamed for a rematch, but Gervonta had other plans and turned deaf ear to his request. Cruz vs Gervonta is the fight the fans want. Although many believed that the next fight should be Terence Crawford vs Gervonta Davis, there are many names for 135 pounds. The fight the fans want to see is Pitbull vs Tank, and both boxers are going to please their fans. Many news outlets like UK Snack Attack claims that ESPN's Mark Kriegel mentioned Isaac Cruz apparently has a date with Tank Davis. Gervonta has a record of 29 wins, 27 by knockout. The last fight he won by decision was against Cruz, hence fans believe that a second fight against Pitbull, who after the Cabrera fight has improved in his reach and toughened it up. Some fans believe that Gervonta Davis vs Cruz second fight will get the chip off Pitbull's shoulder, as according to fans, he managed to land impressive punches on Davis. Tank comes from knocking out Ryan Garcia, a fight that has been one of the most watched this 2023. Cruz last stepped into the ring against Giovanni Cabrera on July 29, and the Pitbull won by a split decision. Boxing has been looking in 2023, with some of the biggest matches possible coming together, and some of the world's best boxers elevating their game to new levels. From Gervonta Tank Davis drilling Ryan Garcia with a fight-ending body shot, to Terence Crawford and Naoya Inoue elevating themselves to the undisputed number 1 and 2 pound-for-pound fighters in the sport, to new champions across several weight classes. The year has been as good for boxing as any in recent memory. As with any sport, there is an unavoidable desire to ask what's next. For some of the sport's biggest stars, we know who they'll face in their next trip to the ring. For others, they are ideals but nothing set in stone. Terence Crawford, a rematch with Errol Spence Jr. Crawford thoroughly dismantled Spence in their July 29 clash, dominating nearly every moment of the fight before forcing the TKO in round 9. Crawford's performance was so impressive that it jumped him over Naoya Inoue, who had his own dominant win over Stephen Fulton days before in the most pound-for-pound rankings. That fight came with a rematch clause, which Spence made clear he would be activating with the hope that the rematch would take place at 154 pounds. Crawford seemed open to taking the fight at junior middleweight, talk that hasn't been sorted. Either way, it appears Crawford and Spence are destined to run it back in a fight that could further stamp Crawford as the best fighter in boxing, or could provide some degree of redemption for Spence. Next one, Saul Alvarez clash with Jermell Charlo. This fight is already booked to take place in September, while many expected Alvarez to defend his undisputed super middleweight titles against the other Charlo twin, Jermell. He was not ready to get back in the ring. However, undisputed junior middleweight champion Jermell Charlo stepped up to take the fight. This will be Alvarez's third defense of his status as undisputed champion. He picked up his 4th world title at super middleweight with his win over Caleb Plant and dropped the decision to Dmitry Bivol at lightweight. Alvarez's first defeat since losing to Floyd Mayweather in September 2013. Next one, Gervonta Tank Davis trainers against Isaac Cruz rematch is next. Davis picked up a high-profile win early in the year, stopping Ryan Garcia with a left hook to the liver. Davis has become one of the sport's biggest stars, and has done so while not yet fighting most of the top talent in the division, and with most of his recent fights either being for secondary titles or no title on the line at all. A fight with Cruz isn't exactly the most in-demand option for Davis, especially considering he already beat Cruz in a competitive fight that saw Davis forced to fight one-handed, because of a hand injury. Davis trainer Kelvin Ford recently said they were just waiting for a contract to come across for their next fight before suggesting it would be Pitbull Cruz. Cruz has been angling hard for the rematch and just cleared a very tricky hurdle with a split decision win over an awkward Giovanni Cabrera in late July. The next one, Ryan Garcia, a possible world title showdown with Orlando Romero. Losing to Davis was certainly a career setback for Garcia, and now he has the chance to prove he has the resiliency to bounce back. Garcia has called for a fight with Rolly Romero, which Romero has talked up as a huge fight. There are obvious reasons Garcia would target Romero, mainly that Romero's WBA super lightweight title appears one of the easiest to take in the sport. Romero was getting thoroughly handled by Ismael Barroso in May, when the fight was stopped during Romero's first stretch of meaningful offense, handing him the vacant title by a universally derided TKO stoppage. Romero has looked very vulnerable in recent outings, and someone hunting for their first world title eyeing him makes sense. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel.